my fellow students. Welcome back to this screencast, webcast. Today we're going to be looking at chapter 17. We're going to look at how the progressives responded to the challenges that were going on in America. So back in chapter 16, we're kind of identifying the problems. Now we're actually going to dive into what was done to try to fix the problems. So if you want to follow along, we'll be kind of starting in chapter 17. We're going to move through. And again, I would encourage you to be taking notes as we go. Have the notes guide along with you. That will really kind of help make sure you have the correct information as we go through it. So to start with, things were kind of crazy in the start of the 20th century. So as the mass amount of immigrants have come, people are working, changes are happening, cultures are colliding. There's a lot of new things that people want to do to improve and to make things better. And so as we dive right into the material, the first real thing to look at is what they call the origins of progressivism, or the origins of, or the why progressivism started. And so really the thing was, you have a bunch of people that realize that things are not good, that life is not good for everybody, that there are people who are struggling, and in general, we need to fix it. A lot of it was started off a movement called the social gospel. The social gospel is a religious movement in the 1800s based on the idea that social reform and Christianity should go hand in hand. And so the social gospel movement is really the first thing to kind of get this whole progressivism movement off and running. So once we have people who are involved, let's now look at some of the specific things that they were working towards. So one of the original areas they're looking towards was child labor, and that they wanted to make it safer, make it a better place for kids, because so many kids were they were forced to work, whether it was long hours, it was constant, it was unsafe. And so we have something called the National Child Labor Committee is established, in which they really tried to get kids out of the factories and into the schools. That was one of the big things they tried to do. And so interestingly enough, one of the things they find out is as there's a decline in child labor, more kids are getting education. Thus, there's more schools. Interesting. In 1870, there were only 500 high schools throughout the nation. By 1910, so we're looking 40 years, or over 10,000. By 1930, almost half of all high school age youth were attending high school. And so one of the first major progressive things was to get kids out of the factories, get them into school so they could be educated, so we could hopefully improve their lives. Next area that we really want to look at then is the political world, getting, as it says here, an honest, effective local government. So many governments, as we looked at last quarter or last unit, were corrupt, whether it was the political machines or the different political bosses that were running and controlling cities. Now they want to say, you know what, let's get the power back to the people. So there's a number of ways that they try to get the power back to the people. One of those ways, a variety of them. One was basically secret ballots, in which no one could see what you were voting, who you were voting for. You can imagine the importance of that. That way, no one can be looking and seeing what you're doing. You feel like you have choice, that you don't have to worry about somebody looking over your shoulder. It was more private, to where no one was going to criticize or critique you. Another one was called the direct primary. Direct primaries, in which voters hold elections to choose candidates. Instead of politicians choosing the candidate, the people get to choose the candidate. That was one of the main ones, called the direct primary. Another form out there is called the recall. Recall is a process by which voters can remove an elected official before his or her term expires. And so if the person is not doing a good job, is not meeting these people, the opportunity to get rid of them. Another one being called the direct initiative. Initiative being a lawmaking reform enabling citizens to propose and pass laws directly without the state legislature. So again, we're getting more power back to the people. Other one being this one called the referendum. Referendum is a lawmaking reform that allows a law passed by a state legislature to be placed on the ballot for approval or rejection by the voters. So if there's a law a state wants to make, the people have a choice. So again, we're trying to get the power back to the people, like it is supposed to be, with this idea of democracy to begin with. So that kind of looks at politics. Other major areas of reform are when it comes to social problems. One of the big and first major social problems was women's right to vote. We've talked about this many times before, that women couldn't vote. And it wasn't until you had some very strong, very powerful, when I say strong, powerful, I'm thinking about the character, the insides of these women were just impressive about what they were willing to do, what they were willing to step up into. So you have your National American Women's Suffrage Association. They were the main ones leading for suffrage being the right to vote. So they were leading the charge in that. It's not until 1919, 1920 with the 19th Amendment that women finally do get the right to vote. And so it took a constitutional amendment before women were actually able to vote. So women had suffrage, or the right to vote. The other one being African Americans and their continued battle, struggle, quest for equality and freedom. In 1909, there's a group called the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, or NAACP. Their goal is to fight through the courts to end segregation and ensure that African American men could exercise voting rights under the 15th Amendment. So NAACP still exists today, still an organization that really tries to work to create a balance for African Americans, an organization that was really very vital in the early 1900s to try to create a sense of equality. It still had its challenges, still had its struggles, but it really helped move things forward. In response to how we're going to confront racism, two guys had very different views on how we're going to do it, one of which was Booker T. Washington. His main idea is you just work hard, you do your job, and allow society and culture to change. And then you had W.E.B. Du Bois, who says, no, you need to get involved politically, you need to get involved in an active way to make changes happen. And so both of them were effective, both of them made progress, but both had a little bit of a different approach. So that's just kind of a quick recap of looking at how progressives responded, how they went about fixing things. We have the foundations of the progressive movement being in your social gospel and the social awakening, whereas which people that say we need to kind of merge some Christian viewpoints into our culture and try to respond to them. Other ways, looking at reducing child labor so we can get kids in school more, trying to reform the political world where now we're going to have direct primaries instead of just the politicians choosing people. We're going to let the people choose who they want to have in government. And then also initiative being where the citizens can propose laws and they can work to end whatever it is they want to fix. We have the founding of the NAACP, which is really trying to help and promote and give African Americans the opportunity to not only vote, but also just get a fair shake instead of being treated poorly because of their skin color. And then last one being 19th Amendment, women's suffrage, women getting their right to vote. So a lot of great things happened, very positive things happened with these progressives in the early 1900s. Thank you guys for watching, for listening. Continue to be taking good notes. See you later.